HOTEP family, it's your boy Superstar ASAR with day number 25 of my daily vlog. Alright, I have been debating about, talking about religion, right? I have been contemplating is a better word about talking about religion, right? But what I'm going to do is, I'm going to do this in a series, right? Today is going to be Christianity, right? Christianity, I'm going to say volume 1 or part 1, right? Alright, now today, basically what I want everybody to do who watches this vlog is to take some notes on the information I'm about to give, right? Now we all know Christianity came with the slave ship, right? That was the first time we were introduced to Christianity as a people. The religion Christianity. Now I'm going to do some wordplay with you, right? Because a lot of people like to say Christianity was invented in Africa. Now, in some ways that's true. In some ways it's not true, right? Christianity as spirituality, as far as the first Christ, the Christ, which was ASAR, what I call myself, was created in Africa, right? But it was more on the lines of spirituality versus man-made monotheist religion, right? And what I mean by monotheism is like one God, one person, usually a male entity, like Jesus, Allah, Yahweh, things of that nature, right? But what I'm saying is, all right, now the Crusades, I want y'all to Google the Christian Crusades, right? It's probably going to come up easier for you to be, it's probably going to come up easier if you Google the Roman Catholic Crusades, because the Catholic religion is a precursor to Christianity, basically, right? So Google the Crusades of Christianity. You're going to see a lot of genocide going on with that. And when I touch on Islam, Islam was a precursor for that genocide. Because there was a slave, we were enslaved in Africa before we were enslaved in North America, right? With Islam. And that's when a lot of people try to say shit like, oh, blacks enslaved blacks and whoopty whoop. But I'm gonna break all that down for you. I'm gonna tell you about the Arabs and how they basically they are the Caucasian, the European mutant recessive Caucasoid that's their henchmen, right? But Christianity, I want you to Google the Crusades, the religious crusades of the Roman Catholic, also of the Christian Crusades. I want you to Google the Council of NICEA, N-I-C-E-A, right? The Council of NICEA basically was like some Europeans who sat down and they figured out a way to plagiarize the first Christ, which was ASAR, first resurrection story. We're gonna get into that a little later on. I touched on it in my previous vlog with the spirituality, our African spirituality, man, woman, and child. I talked a little bit about ASAR, Ast&Hru, and ASAR went up. Long story short, ASAR went up against Set. Right? Set is the embodiment of evil. ASAR was the embodiment of good. And what happened was he got defeated. He got his phallus taken away. And see, it's a lot of phallus talk in ancient Africa. But before the Euro mind came and like tarnished things as far as like over sexuality and shit like that, we was walking around pretty much in the nude, before we civilized ourselves. And before we civilized the motherfucking white man, because they didn't civilize us at all. You feel me? The first universities that were built in Europe were built by us. You feel me? We civilized them motherfuckers. So, Council of Nicaea, the Crusades of Christianity, the Roman Catholic Crusades. The first slave ship was called Jesus. And we were introduced to the Bible during the end of the 14th, the beginning of the 15th century with the transatlantic slave trade, right? So before that, a lot of people like to say Christianity started in Africa somewhat, but it wasn't under a religious stronghold, a mind fuck. It was more so based off of the natures, how nature helped us to sustain, right? Food, clothing, and shelter. The way we felt about that, the ka and the ba, which Kabbalicism stole from us. You know what I'm saying? The soul and the mind. You know what I mean? Everything was plagiarized from us. They remixed it, put the Euro oversex homosexuality remix on that shit, right? And they gave it back to us after they conditioned our minds for over 400, 500 years, beating the shit out of us, tearing us down. You know what I'm saying? Because if you ever fuck with the 48 laws of power, Caucasians, their main mantra is you got to build them up to break them down. So that's what basically happened with us. Even though it was a lot of us already over here, a lot of early travelers that came over here on their own. Some of our ancestors was already over here before Christopher Columbus now, like I said in previous vlogs. But once you Google the Council of Nicaea, the Roman Catholic Crusades, Google Pope Innocent, he was the one who said that, you know, slavery would be a good thing, because Christopher Columbus came over here. Before he came over this way, he didn't come to North America. Before he came over this way, he gave Pope Innocent 16 slaves to work in the Vatican for free, right? And then Pope Innocent made the announcement that slavery will be the next best thing to create capitalism, and that's what they did. They brought Africans over here for the free labor. They had the free land. They committed genocides on the Native Americans and the Africans that were here, and that's how you got capitalism. So this is day 25 of my daily vlog. This is Christianity Part 1. I don't know how many parts it's going to be. I'm thinking maybe like 5, just to make sure everything gets out there. But this is Christianity Part 1. Council of Nicaea. Some other names I want to drop for all my Hebrew Israelites out there who love to talk about the Torah, and the Torah was written by Moses. The Torah was written by Moses, that's true, but not the Moses of the Bible. The Moses of the Bible, in my mind, he never existed, right? Because it's an allegorical story based off the remix of previous spiritual stories that indigenous people already had. So what I'm saying is, they took ASAR and turned him into Jesus. Oh, I almost forgot. Very important point. You need to Google the Ptolemy family. Ptolemy. The Ptolemies came in around 300 AD. Came into Kemet. They forced, after the Hyksos and the previous Greeks had already been there, they brought their god, which is basically Serapis, and Serapis is any forced worship of a white-faced deity, right? So they came in there with they previously fucked around with Set Typhon, you know what I mean? But the Ptolemy family came in there with Ptolemy. He had the white face with the beard, and they worship Zeus Ammon, right? So Zeus, if you put, when you speak Spanish, the word Jesus they don't say Jesus, they say Jesus. So when you saying Jesus, you basically saying hey Zeus, right? You calling upon Zeus, their fucked up homosexual deity, right? So remember that. That's another thing to Google. Ptolemy family is very important because the Ptolemies brought in, I want to say, the first worship of Serapis, and it was forced upon our people. It wasn't like, yeah, we with this shit. They was making heads roll. Said, you gonna worship me as a white man, right? They took our shit and remixed it. So even when you say Amen at the end of Christian prayers, you're basically saying Amen. That was already in play 2,000 years before. Shit, longer than that, 5,000 years before. Because a lot of people like to focus on ancient Kemet too, and that's good. The Nile Valley civilization is not just Egypt, right? You got Sudan, you got Ethiopia, you got Kenya, you got the Congo, you got Tanganyika, which is Tanzania, all the way up, all the way from Mount Kilimanjaro, the mountains on the moon, all the way down, which is still up because the mountains is in Central East Africa, all the way up the Nile. You feel me? To Egypt, and that's a very important point too that people like to miss. I'm guilty of this myself. You know, we sensationalize Egypt because it's a strong point to get our people revved up and to see the greatness that we created as Africans. But it's not just about Egypt, because Egypt was our downfall too. Now you gotta think about that, because them Hyksos came in there mixing in with the people. You know what I'm saying? And the mulattoes that came from that mixing was our downfall. They turned on their African mothers, right? And we're gonna talk about the dirty ass Arabs, and you know what I'm saying, the sand people. But just like John Henry Clark said, it's 3 different people on this planet: the children of the sun, the people of the ice, which is the Caucasians, and the people of the sand. The people of the ice and the people of the sand, they had already been intermingling and shit, right? And they sent their henchmen, the Euro sent their henchmen, which is the Arab man, with Islam. And Islam didn't come into play until 700 AD. You gotta think about that. We've been already going ham, doing our thing since shit. I'll say 5,000 BCE, before the Christian era, BCE. A lot of people say BC, I say BCE. But Council of Nicaea, the Roman Catholic / Christian Crusades of Africa, right? You want to check out the Ptolemy family, the good ship Jesus, right? And on part 2, tomorrow, I'm going to give y'all about 10 or 11 Bible verses off the top of the dome that prove homosexuality, rape, bestiality, and incest off the rip. But see, they got it hidden the way they speak that shit. They got it hidden where you can't really understand it. Plus, a couple more names I want to drop is Desiderius Erasmus, right? DESIDERIUS. Desiderius Erasmus, ERASMUS. He wrote the New Testament, right? Because when they remixed that shit, they remixed it in Greek, and he translated it from Greek to what we know now as to Old English and to the English language, right? Also, another name besides Desiderius Erasmus I want to drop is, like I was saying previously, the Torah. The Hebrew Israelites like to say Moses wrote the Torah, which is true. But it ain't Moses from the Bible. It was a cat named Moses Maimonides. If you type in Moses, Moses, M-O-S-E-S, Maimonides, M-A-M-O-I-N-I-D-E-S, Moses Maimonides, he was one of the first Euros to travel throughout Africa, India, because all those religions come from us. Basically, they just remixes of us. So he traveled those indigenous lands, and he compiled the Torah, which we know as the Pentateuch, the Torah. Some people call it the Septuagint, but it's the Old Testament of the Bible. So with that being said, check that information out. Part 2, I'm gonna this is part 1 of Christianity. Part 2, I'm gonna go ahead and drop some more science on that. You know what I mean? If you need to pause it and get the names and write them down, check them out ASAP. Because I'm going to go kind of fast with this shit, right? I want to expose to Christianity. They want to go into Islam, because Islam is like super cut. Islam got Serapis in the Quran. So if Islam came before Christianity, how the fuck is the white image of worship in the Quran? You know what I mean? I'm going to break down all that shit. The Circle 7 Quran, the 5% knowledge, you know what I'm saying? It's all monotheist, God, one man worship. They take the woman out, and that shit homosexual. You know what I mean? When we were all about man, woman, and child, which is a resurrection of yourself, right? When you pre-code your DNA, you have a child, your child carries on your legacy. That's why in the ASARian story, our ancient spiritual Holy Trinity, man, woman, and child, Aset resurrected through ASAR with Heru. And Heru is a shining hero who come back and set everything straight. You feel me? So, HOTEP family, this is day number 25, my daily vlog, Christianity Part 1. Peace to everybody. I hope you have a great day. HOTEP.